from this to that. That's what our goal today. So today I think we're going to make something like this. Something which will hold the candle in place and it'll be unique. We're going to start off at the top here. This is my rough gouge. Big heavy gouge. I like it. It's solid. It does a great job. And then I have a bull gouge as well. I just like to use it once in a while. If I had to, I could take this out of my collection and just go with my detail gouge. So these are 3 gouges that do a lot of my work. And below that, I have my parting tool. Mine's a little bit bent. It's got almost stuck in the turning a couple times. It's probably not the best quality, but I keep it sharp and it works great. So this is my parting tool. It helps me plan my designs. And lastly, I have my skew. I use my skew as a scraper as well. I know it has a rounded edge and most scrapers are straight, but for some reason it doesn't bother me. Okay, we're going to get started. I'm going to keep my chisel up on an angle and slowly bring this down. Here we go. Okay, so we've shaved off all the material and now we have a nice smooth cylinder. I can tell it's smooth usually if I run my knife across it. If my knife is bouncing up and down, then we know that there's still some flat spots on it. Or you can actually listen to it. It's very quiet once it gets round. So now we're ready to readjust the fence, map it out, and start making our turning. I would readjust my fence. I don't want a large gap here. I want it tight. It gives me more control of my knives, and it makes me feel safer. So once that's done, we're going to map out our piece. Now we've got lots of flexibility on our design, but I do have one dimension that has to be accurate. The candle that we're using is 3 inches in diameter, so I at least want the top of this, where this is going to sit, to be 3 1/4 inches. So I'm going to keep that in mind. So when I use my calipers later, I'll make sure that I've got 3 1/4 inches up here to hold the candle. Everything else, we have flexibility in our design. So I'm going to start off drawing some lines on this turning to give me some idea what to do with it. So I just put my pencil up to the rest and give it a little spin. So I'm kind of not under a lot of pressure here. I'm just relaxed and doing some different markings, and hopefully they'll turn out okay. So I've got some idea to start with when I start working with my parting tool. My parting tool will divide these areas up so I can work at them individually to get my shape or whatever we're doing. In this case, the candle holder. Again, keep it up high. Not a lot of people do this. I like it high and use the blade better. Nice and slow. I'm going to start with my detail gouge and remove the material here to make a bow. So right now I'm just removing material. Very careful. I stick it in and then I roll it. I think that looks good. Now I'm going to make this into a round, kind of like a ball. So I'm going to start in the middle and roll it. And then the other side. So far what we have is we used our parting tool to make our shoulders, and now I'm using my small gouge to shape out my rounds and my coves. How I use the gouge is I start in the center and I slowly roll it, and for this side I roll it back this way, and for these deep coves I start it straight in on an angle. I turn it on an angle so I make a cut in it, and as I'm going down I turn it in, and same with this side. I start with a cut, and when I going down to the wood, I turn it in. When I'm lathing, I'm cutting on this side, but I'm always looking on this side of the turning. This is where I can see the edge of it to see if the shape is nice and round. Are they true rounds, or is it am I missing it? Because I can make these shoulders and I can measure, but all this has to be done by eye. That's what's so fun about the lathe. You're doing it by eye. We're going to move some material and we're going to design as we go. We're not sure exactly what's going on yet. All we know when we're done is we want this top edge to be 3¼ inches so the candle sits on. So let's get started and we'll remove some material. Here we go. I can use my gouge flat or on an angle, whatever way cut that you like. And I'm going to remove some more material. I know it's not going to be this fine. Okay. Redefine my shoulder. Okay, I'm going to use my calipers to make sure these two shoulders, I want them to be the same depth. So I usually do it while the lathe's running. Okay. So now I'm going to use my gouge to remove this material. I'm going to make this part here into a nice round, another round type ball. And I'm going to use my small detail gouge first and round it over. And if I don't like it, I'll change it, but we'll see what it looks like. Rounding it off, shaping it, looking at my profile on the back edge against the wall to see how it looks. I take my parting tool, put my calipers up, get my 3¼ That's it there. Okay, so we're going to go back to my large gouge and start making a shape. I want to funnel it. And I go to my small detail gouge and remove some material. Okay, so the basic model is turned. So what I'm going to do now is take a look at it and see if I like it and see what's wrong with it. I can tell that I'm a bit heavy here. I've got to reduce some more material. I'm not nice and straight. This cove, I can see looking at this edge, it doesn't look round and nice and clean, so I'm going to do a little bit more work in here. I'm also, in here, I'm going to do a little bit more refining of this before we'll say this is done. Oh yes, and I've got to, I still have to round this piece off down here to make it complete. The turning part is complete. The next part of the project is to sand your turning. And keep in mind, when you're sanding it, you got to be really careful because sandpaper is like a tool in itself. It can change the shape or you can improve the shape with a piece of sandpaper. I like to think we improve the shape with the sandpaper. Keep in mind when you are sanding, you'll watch how I do it. I like to use longer pieces so I can move around because it gets really hot, but I never put it in any position where it could get wrapped around the turning. It's really dangerous if that happened. So here we go. I'll get some sandpaper and we'll start sanding. The final process. Now be careful, this is like a knife edge here. So you got to remember, it can change your turning. So I'm going to start at the bottom and work to the top. I'm rolling it, getting in there, defining it. In the coves, I shape the paper like this to get in the cove. This is the finished project here. This is similar exactly what we just did. I put a block on the bottom, I painted it, I rubbed off some of the paint. I like the distressed look. I rubbed a bit of stain on there, and a little bow tie to go with our room setting. Another project that I just got into, lighthouses. Since we live in Newfoundland, I think lighthouses are a neat idea. These are turned. I've made all different sizes. I want to make them different colors, and they'll be a nice decoration as well. And the finished lighthouse, really easy to do. And with lighthouses, you're only making one of each style, so you really can't go wrong. So you paint them up nice, and they can be colorful. Another project I'm making now is some hull tables. So I've turned legs. these are solid pine as well that will be attached to a table, and I think they'll look nice when they're complete. And lastly, this piece that looks a little bit unusual. This is actually 4, let's call them bun feet. When I do small turnings, these are all individual turnings here, but when I do small turnings, I like to do them in multiples. I like to put the whole piece on the lathe. Later, these will be cut, and there'll be feet, bun feet, and a piece of furniture will go on top. So that's basically a lot of the fun things. I've really enjoyed turning all these pieces. I think lathe is the most exciting piece of woodworking equipment there is. It's hard to get excited about a table saw or a bandsaw or a planer, but a lathe's a lot of fun. There's lots of instruction on the internet, on YouTube. You can get instruction, and just try it. I think you'll really enjoy it. I know I always enjoy the lathe.